Tanaka Seiichi spent 40 years learning a lesson most of us never realize until it is too late. Listening is harder than speaking. In this village, the river runs cold, even in summer. The fog arrives before the sun each morning, rolling down through the cedar trees like a slow exhale. The people who live here do not rush. They have learned over many generations that the mountain does not hurry, and so neither do they. It is in this village that a man named Tanaka Seiichi lived his entire life. He was 71 years old. He had never traveled far. He had never written a book. He had never spoken from a stage, or gathered followers, or claimed to know the truth of things. And yet, when people in the valley had a decision they could not make, it was Seiichi they walked to see. He was a carpenter by trade. Nothing more. Seiichi's mornings began before light. Not from discipline alone, but from habits so old it had become instinct. He would rise, fold his sleeping mat with slow and careful hands, and sit for a moment in the dark, just listening to the house. Then he would make tea, green tea, prepared simply. No ceremony, no performance. He would wait for the water to cool slightly after boiling, pour it without rushing, and drink while looking at nothing in particular through the garden window. He had done this for 40 years. His workshop was attached to the back of his house. Inside were the objects of a quiet life. He built furniture, mostly simple things. Tables, shelves, occasionally a coffin. People who came to commission work from him noticed something unusual. He asked very few questions, and then he was silent. Not awkwardly, not the silence of someone searching for words, but the silence of someone who was listening to what had not yet been said. A young woman once came to him asking for a cabinet for her kitchen. She talked for a long time about the size she wanted, the wood she preferred, and then he asked one question. "What do you want to feel when you stand in front of it in the morning?" She was quiet for a long time. Then she said she wanted to feel that something in her home was steady, that something would not change. The cabinet he built her was simple, heavy, made from old Hinoki cypress, joined without nails, designed to outlast 3 generations. She kept it for the rest of her life. Seiichi had not always been this way. In his youth, he was impatient in the way young men often are, quick to speak, quick to judge, eager to be understood before he had taken the time to understand. He had a daughter from a marriage that dissolved quietly, like paper left in rain. He had said things he could not take back. He had defended himself when he should have listened. He had spoken when the only right answer was silence and presence. His daughter moved away when she was 19. They did not speak for 11 years. He did not speak of this often. But in the evenings, when the work was done and the candles burned low, there was something in his face, a stillness that came not from peace, but from the long practice of carrying something heavy without letting it destroy you. It was this, not wisdom received from a teacher, but wisdom carved slowly from regret, from the slow ache of understanding what you lost by speaking too soon and listening too little. He told a neighbor once, almost without drama, "I lost the most important conversation of my life because I was too busy forming my reply to hear what she was actually saying." And then he was quiet again. People who knew Seiichi well noticed that he almost never offered advice unprompted. Even when he clearly saw a solution, even when the person sitting across from him was walking directly towards something painful, he would not speak. He believed, not from philosophy books, but from lived experience, that most people do not come to another person to receive answers. They come to be heard. And in being heard, they often find the answer already living inside them, buried beneath the noise of their own thoughts, waiting for the space that only true listening can create. He would say, on the rare occasions he explained himself, "Silence is not emptiness. Silence is the field in which the other person can finally hear themselves." He applied this to his work as much as his life. When he was shaping a piece of wood, he did not impose his design upon it too quickly. He would hold it first. Feel its weight. Look at the direction of its grain, the way a tree records its entire life in rings and lines, the years of drought visible in the narrow spaces, the years of rain in the wide ones. He said the wood always told you what it wanted to become if you were quiet enough to listen. He treated people the same way. We live now in a time of constant speaking, platforms built for broadcasting, technologies designed to amplify our voice before we have finished forming our thought. We mistake fluency for wisdom, confidence for understanding, volume for truth. We are rewarded for having opinions, for stating them quickly, for defending them when challenged. We have built entire cultures around the performance of knowing. And in doing so, we have forgotten how to listen. Not the surface listening, where we wait for the pause so we can speak again, but the deep listening that Széchenyi practiced, the listening that says, I am not here to be confirmed. I am here to understand. Psychology has a name for what happens when someone is truly heard. It calls it emotional validation. But that phrase misses something. It misses the way a person's shoulders drop when they feel genuinely understood. The way their breathing slows, the way a conversation that began in confusion ends in clarity. Not because anything was solved, but because the space to feel the problem fully was finally given. Széchenyi knew this without the words for it. He knew that the person who speaks most in a room often learns least. That the questions that open people, what do you mean by that? Tell me more. How did that feel? Are more valuable than any statement. That listening is not passive. It is one of the most demanding and generous things a human being can offer another. And he knew something else, that the habit of listening outward, to other people, to the grain of wood, to the quality of silence in a room, is also the habit of listening inward, that people who never pause to hear others rarely pause to hear themselves either. That in all the noise of speaking, we lose the thread of our own becoming. Széchenyi's daughter came back when she was 30. She came not with anger or with resolution, but simply with her own child, a boy of 4 years who had her eyes. She stood at the door in the evening, and he opened it without surprise, the way he received everything, quietly, without performance. They had tea together. He listened for a long time. When she finally asked, "Why didn't you come for me?" he did not defend himself. He said, "I was learning, slowly, how to be the kind of person you deserve to talk to." She stayed for 3 days. She came back the following year, and the year after that. There is an old saying, old enough that no one remembers who first said it.
The wisest person in the room is often the one who speaks last, or not at all. Széchenyi lived this not as a rule, but as a practice. And like all practice, like the carpenter's steady hand, like the tea that cools to the right temperature if you only let it, it grew over years into something that looked from the outside like a gift. But it was not a gift. It was patience. It was grief transformed. It was 40 years of mornings, tea cooling in a clay cup, the sound of rain on an old wooden roof, and a man choosing, again and again, to listen before he spoke. You can do this too. Not all at once. Just. The next time someone speaks to you, let them finish. Let the silence after their words exist for one breath longer than feels comfortable. Then ask a question instead of offering an answer. See what they tell you. See what you hear.